What's going on, guys? So this weekend I was invited to participate in the closed beta test for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds on the PlayStation 5. This is the new Sonic Racing game that's going to be coming out this year, that was originally revealed last year during the Game Awards. We didn't see any footage of it then, but we recently got our first look at it in a PlayStation showcase last week, and this weekend they were holding a closed beta. I've been having a lot of fun with it so far, but I wanted to kind of give my in-depth thoughts and just basically how I'm feeling about the game right now. So if you're new here and want to see more videos about Sonic or any upcoming games, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It's really the best way to help me out. Alright, let's talk Sonic. Having been a little bit burned out on Sonic Racing games after 2019's Team Sonic Racing, I was a little hesitant to try and get excited for CrossWorlds. But after playing it for myself and seeing it in action, I'm way more optimistic about this. Still cautiously optimistic though, for reasons I'll get to in a little bit. Let's start off with the character selection. The demo has 28 slots on the character select screen and lets you pick from 9 of them. Those being Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Shadow, Omega, Robotnik, Cream, and Zaz of the Deadly Six. These aren't all the characters that are already confirmed for the game, and we know that there's a lot more coming because the bottom of the screen says, and so many more. Which already has me kind of excited, like, who can they add? We already have 28 slots and they're planning on adding more? Super Monkey Ball just got the crewmate from Among Us, so who knows what they're gonna add. I like having a wide variety like this. It makes changing up who you play as a little better, even if you do just stick to one character. Me personally, I'm a little biased towards Shadow and Knuckles, but they've always been my favorites. The demo also lets you customize the vehicle that you use, though admittedly I didn't spend too much time playing with this. I was more about the gameplay, not really about the customization, but there's a lot of options here. Specifically, there's 4 different vehicle types available, which are speed, acceleration, handling, and power, which are all stronger in each of their named categories. I feel like in other racing games, I don't really notice a difference in these stats. I tend to lean more towards speed and acceleration, and that's definitely still true here. But I noticed that when I was trying out a handling cart, it controlled much more precise than the speed carts that I was used to. And that's great, it really changes up the way I decide to play. Something I also want to mention is that we've seen the extreme gear from Sonic Riders in trailers and promo material, but that's not available in this beta test right now. You can change up your vehicle's appearance from like the model and even the paint color scheme. So yeah, there's a huge amount of customization available, and this is just a beta test. So now I want to get into actual gameplay. You start up a race, and it's your typical starting line in a racing game with the 3, 2, 1, go. Unlike Mario Kart, you have a meter at the beginning that you need to precisely time how much you press the gas in order to get an effective boost. Hold down the gas too much and you'll burn out. Don't hold it out enough and you don't get a boost. I'm not sure how many other racing games are like this, but it's exactly like how Disney Speedstorm does it, so it felt really familiar to me and I understood the timing a little more than I probably would have coming off just Mario Kart. So once you're off, you'll notice that this game is really fast paced. I mean, it's Sonic, it should feel fast, but that also means something else. This game is chaotic, and maybe not for all the right reasons. So you drive around as you expect you would on land, air, and sea, and the 3 different styles actually handle pretty differently. When you're in the sea, you have the option to jump, which will allow you to go through rings and get a little speed boost. When you're flying, the rings are still there, and these also provide a boost, but you have to fly through them. Driving on land, you drift as you would, and you can charge up your drift meter up to 3 times to get a speed boost, kind of like a mini turbo. And across each of the 3 different vehicle types, you're going to be collecting rings as you would in a normal Sonic game. At first, I expected these rings to act similarly to the coins, where they slightly increase your acceleration in Mario Kart, but the rings are actually much more fundamental to the gameplay. There's a drastic difference in your speed when you have like 20 coins compared to when you have a full 100, or even if you have gear equipped that allows you to hold more rings. And I mentioned this game was chaotic, right? Because these rings are flying everywhere. Every single race I had, I'm neck and neck with somebody, constantly bumping into each other, and we're each simultaneously losing and gaining rings. Bump into another racer, you're losing rings. Bump into a wall, you're losing rings. Fall off the track, you're losing rings. You lose them just as quickly as you gain them because they're everywhere on the track too. And many tracks are laid out so you can drift into a line of them and keep picking them up. It's honestly pretty satisfying. What isn't satisfying is constantly being bombarded by these items and other racers. There's never an instance where I had some sort of breakaway, there was always somebody near me, and it almost feels like there's too much happening at once. Not to mention, in a game where going fast is the idea, there's too many things that just bring you to a halt and totally kill your momentum. It's especially annoying when there's nothing you can do to avoid it. And what's even more annoying is sometimes you get bombarded or slowed down and you're in the back. Everybody else in the game is way ahead of you, and yet somehow I'm still being stopped or slowed down because of some gimmick or item. It's not discouraging enough to make you want to quit because there might be some chance of you catching up. I found too often there were many times where I'd be in first place and just instantly knocked back to last with no hope of ever catching up because I've been hit with so many items. Is it bad luck or is it unbalanced? Sure, it's just a demo, so this stuff will probably get changed in the final release, but for right now, it just feels like there's so much happening. All that being said, in the moments where things are going my way, I really like this game. And maybe that was more just toward the beginning, because I noticed that before you rank up, half of your lobbies are always going to be filled with bots. I think this was just kind of a way to make sure everybody can get used to the game before actually competing against each other, but once I hit about C rank, then I started getting full human lobbies. Which maybe is another issue, because I noticed in my early full lobby matches, I, with a score of 100, was getting paired with people who had a 900 score. Somehow I ended up winning one of these races, but it just seemed weird that I could get matched up against somebody who has way more points than me. Again, it's probably just because it's a demo and this won't be in the full release, but still kind of weird. And if I can brag for just a second, I've been winning a lot, and winning feels so good, especially in a game like this. I don't know what it is, maybe it's adrenaline or just overall excitement. I think it could honestly be the fact that there's so much going on, so if you can focus on winning and actually manage to pull it off, it feels even better. Maybe not what Sonic Team intended, but it feels good, and I love it. And the overall gameplay of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is actually so much fun. The main gimmick of this game is the ring portal that appears at the beginning of lap 2. So at the start of the race you pick your course. Then once the player in first place is about to enter lap 2, they can pick between either side of the track to decide where the group will go next. The second lap takes place on a completely different track, and it's honestly pretty satisfying to be the one in first place to decide, okay, this is the track I'm good at, so this is the track we all have to go play. It's happened to me a couple times, and honestly it never felt any less satisfying. I love being in charge in a situation like this, and there's even been moments where I wasn't paying attention and my own selection caught me off guard. It's very reminiscent of the portals in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and honestly, it's such a fun idea, I'm surprised nobody's done it sooner. It's also pretty fitting too, because the Sonic movies incorporated rings as portals, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some movie characters show up here in the final roster. The items available also aren't half bad. It's hard to not compare them to Mario Kart, especially when one of them is 3 wisps, and they function essentially the same as the triple mushroom. But also, as I mentioned earlier, the items are basically the main thing responsible for bringing your gameplay to a halt. I don't know why, it feels like getting hit by an item or another player in this game is more punishing than in other racing games. I think it's because you're moving so fast while you're racing that when you completely stop, it's so jarring. But I do love that we have a Sonic racing game that feels really fast most of the time. This is also especially apparent when you equip the gear that allows you to do tricks in quick succession. It's fun to see how many tricks you can pull off before hitting the ground, and just kind of spamming the stick in any direction is pretty fun. I also didn't mention it too much, but there is gear that you can equip and give you different buffs during races. You can have a bunch of different preset loadouts set up, and playing around with it, I'm really curious to see the kinds of combinations people come up with for this gear as you unlock it. Which, oh yeah, you do unlock things as you race, including tickets that can be spent on more gear and items. It's looking to be a pretty beefy Sonic game, like there's a lot of content here. The only thing I didn't notice because it wasn't even grayed out is we seem to be missing some kind of story mode. It's not a deal breaker for me, a lot of racing games don't have any kind of story, and it seems like the focus here is that Sonic Team wants you to just jump in and start racing, so fine by me. Little bit of issues aside, I was really impressed with my time with Sonic Racing CrossWorlds during this beta period. As I mentioned earlier, I was kind of just going to brush this one off, but after playing this demo, I'm almost certainly going to pick it up on release. The driving is so fast, the controls are nice, and it's just an overall visually beautiful game. There's a lot of colors and a lot of references to Sonic's past. I'm sure this is only going to grow as the final game approaches, but the performance on PS5 is pretty smooth, but I know that there's a couple glitches going around and it could be a little slow sometimes. I can't expect the game to be perfect when it was revealed barely 2 months ago. I'm going to continue to play it while the beta period's still open, so let's see if I can get a couple more wins in. But for now, those are pretty much my thoughts on Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, it really helps me out, and comment down below if you're looking forward to this game, or if maybe you've been playing this beta test as well. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, and maybe even let me know what platform you'd be picking it up on. But for now, that's all I got, and I'll see you guys next time.